In this video, we will be going over the top 10 greatest players in NBA history. This list took quite some time to create, so if you disagree, please comment what you disagree about, and we can friendly debate in the comments. Before we start, I want to clarify that this list has a criteria that is likely different than yours. I value longevity, the player's prime, how the players perform in the playoffs, as well as how impactful they were as overall players. Starting off at number 10, we have Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain was simply an out-of-this-world figure, a 7'1", 300-pounder with a ridiculous 7'8" wingspan. These measurements would be incredible on anyone. But then you realize that Wilt had a rumored 44 to 48-inch vertical and benches an astounding 500 pounds. Wilt was just a specimen that we will never see again. On top of being a legendary scorer and passer, Wilt was also a legendary defender. It is estimated that Wilt averaged north of 10 blocks a game for his career, which would be by far the most in NBA history. Wilt's placement would be higher on this list, but Wilt would consistently fail to show up for big games. His averages would dip significantly as the games got tougher. But nonetheless, we will never see a player like Wilt Chamberlain ever again, and you cannot deny his greatness. At number 9, we have Magic Johnson. One of the 5 most important players in NBA history was Magic Johnson. But as a player, Magic was just as incredible. Magic is the best playmaker that we've ever seen and is the textbook definition of an offensive engine. Magic spearheaded a Lakers offense that ranked in the top 2 in offensive rating an astounding 9 times throughout Magic's career. Magic's career is a case of unparalleled level of dominance. The moment was never too big for Magic. We see superstars play decline in the playoffs or as the games get more important, but for Magic, that was never the case. He would get even better as the games got tougher, which is why the Lakers were able to win 5 championships in the 80s. If Magic Johnson never got sick, the GOAT debate would look a whole lot different. At number 8, we have Bill Russell. Russell is without argument the greatest defender to ever play the game. Russell's rim protection, relentless motor and leadership was the reason the 1960s Celtics were amongst the best defenses in NBA history. The Celtics typically finished first in defense in the NBA for most of Russell's career, which is simply unprecedented levels of defensive impact from Bill Russell. Russell, one of the most athletic players in NBA history, as he had an astounding 42 to 48-inch vertical. Russell always rose to the occasion. He would raise his level of play for the playoffs and the finals, which is a big reason why he is an 11-time champion. You can make a serious argument for Russell to be as high as 4th on my all-time list. At number 7, we have Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a two-way wizard. He would score 35 on you, then guard you 94 feet on the other end. Bryant is arguably the game's most talented and diverse scorer. He can score on you in the post, in the paint, from 3, or from mid-range. You can make an argument that Kobe faced more attention from defenses than any player in NBA history, as teams were terrified of Kobe's scoring ability. Kobe would take full advantage of this finding open teammates, which made him a very underrated playmaker. A big part of Kobe's legacy is the fact that the moment was never too big for him. Bryant is without a doubt one of the most clutch players in NBA history, and his game only got better in the postseason and as the games got tougher. Say what you want about the Mamba, but you cannot deny his place in history. At number 6, we have Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem is inarguably one of the 3 best defenders to ever play the game. Hakeem has had the task of guarding legendary big men like Patrick Ewing and David Robinson for important series and has absolutely shut them down. Hakeem was a shutdown post defender, a legendary rim protector, and can even guard the perimeter. Then on the offensive side of the ball, he was arguably the best post scorer in NBA history, inventing moves such as the Dream Shake. What really makes Hakeem so special is the fact that he excels in the biggest games in the biggest series more than anyone. Hakeem's dominance got significantly better in the playoffs and in the finals opposed from in the regular season, which is incredibly rare and makes him much greater. You can very well argue that Hakeem was one of the 3 best players to ever play this game. At number 5, we have Tim Duncan. Duncan had a blend of finesse and footwork that other bigs can only dream of having. Duncan would maximize these abilities by having an array of low-post moves, most notably his bank shot. Despite these offensive skills, Duncan's best attributes came on the defensive end. Duncan was a legendary post defender and rim protector, and his defensive leadership is only rivaled by Bill Russell. Duncan cemented himself as one of the game's greatest defensive anchors. The Spurs were an elite defensive team for most of Duncan's career, which just speaks volume to Duncan's defensive greatness. Duncan was also a big game player. Duncan's production greatly increased as the games got bigger, which is just a testament to his greatness. At number 4, we have Shaq. If you are making a list of the most unstoppable players in NBA history, the list starts and ends with Shaq. We've seen Shaq go against some of the best defenders in NBA history, and there was still simply nothing any of them could do. He flat out dominated everybody. Shaq was more than just a scorer. He was also one of the very best defenders in the NBA. Shaq's size made teams fear going into the paint, but when they did, they paid the ultimate price as Shaq blocked shots as well as anyone. Shaq's real greatness came in big moments, perhaps the greatest finals performer ever, and someone who always raised their production for the playoffs, regardless of the team or player he was going against. At number 3, we have LeBron James. Imagine a 6'9", 260-pound three-level scorer who is also an elite defender and all-time passer. That player would be LeBron James. LeBron was simply made out of a video game. Contrary to belief, LeBron is also one of the most clutch players in NBA history. LeBron holds many clutch records and is someone whose production increases as the stage gets bigger. Rather it's against a super team or against a legendary defense, LeBron is going to get produce regardless. 19 years ago, you can argue LeBron was a top 7 player in the league. 19 years later, you can make that same argument, which is absurd. What LeBron has accomplished, we will never see again. So take full advantage of this. LeBron's placement will be controversial, but I think 1 through 3 are all on the same level and are all interchangeable. At number 2, we have Michael Jordan. If you ask me, Michael Jordan was simply the best player to ever touch a basketball. Jordan is without question the best scorer ever. Jordan went against a ton of elite defenders, and he absolutely made a mockery out of every single one of them. He was more than just a scorer, though. He was an elite playmaker who often set up role players in perfect spots to hit key shots. He was also one of the greatest guard defenders of all time. However, Jordan's legacy starts in the playoffs. Jordan is without argument the greatest postseason player ever. Jordan's game increased significantly as the games get tougher and more important, which is why the Bulls were able to get 6 rings in just 8 seasons. At number 1, we have our GOAT, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem was simply an unstoppable force. Standing a towering 7'2", Kareem was able to fully maximize the greatest weapon in NBA history, the skyhook. We've seen Kareem go against legendary centers in the playoffs, and it was just simply nothing they can do about it. Kareem was one of the greatest defenders in NBA history. Kareem is arguably the best shot blocker in NBA history, as he ranks 3rd all-time in total block shots, while not having his blocks get counted until his 6th season. Kareem's defensive presence allowed his teams to rank at the top of the NBA consistently throughout his career, in which they were ranked first in their 1971 title victory, all thanks to Kareem. Kareem, at 38 years old, was a top 5 player in the NBA, making the All-NBA first team and winning Finals MVP. He has dominated the league from his rookie year all the way until he was 39 years old, which is simply unprecedented legacy and longevity. It may not seem crazy because now you see a lot of guys like LeBron and Steph Curry dominate at an old age. But it was not always like that. Kareem played in a time where stars and players in general careers just didn't last long. Look at the star players from the 70s and 80s. They either retired early or declined very fast, but not Kareem. So when you factor in Kareem staying elite for 17-plus seasons in that time, it's the most impressive thing in basketball. Kareem was an elite playoff player, one of the 3 best scorers ever, a legendary defender, stayed consistent on both ends of the floor his whole career, has the most accolades, and in my opinion has the greatest longevity in NBA history. If you factor in all of that, I think you have the greatest of all time. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, if you disagreed with anything, comment what you disagree with, and I'll be sure to reply.